They are there and they are there from the beginning. But you have certain traditions. It's not only for Saudi Arabia but the other Arab nations, and even I can see anywhere in the world. Well, in the West it's not predominant, but in Asia it's a lot. The tribes are everywhere, and then there are very fixed rules in these tribes. Like they marry between their own tribes. There are certain very strict tribes. They have their own traditional, cultural, and other sort of things, and which makes them prominent, and they take a pride of having all those. So segmental is something like that. A nerve of a segmental unit supplies its own derivatives only. Like apparents, they are only responsible for their own kids, nobody else. They are only feeding their own kids. And non-segmental, it's a different story. So let's try to go through what are these segmental spinal nerves and where are they located and how they are helpful. So by definition, a segmental spinal nerves are arising from the certain spinal level, and they innervate somatic structures who are derived from the somites of the same level. Like spinal nerve T1 will supply somatic structure derived from T1. And somite and T1 somatic mesoderm. So they are all should be interconnected. If there is T2, T3, there will be no supply. So like, let me put one example. Oh, you're sitting here, right? I will not use your. If there is a Ghamdi boy, then he should be to be married with a Ghamdi girl. There is no other. Tamimi, then go for Tamimi. And even Tamimi has divisions, Tamami, and there are 3 subtypes. So these are very strict. So you can see that they are only connected to their own specific people. They are not going, they never go out. If they go out, they have to face the social boycotts. Nobody is talking to them and they've been set apart. And I know about little bit about Saudi stuff. But I know the Egyptians and Syrians and all Palestinians all have your tribes, and you have your own values, and you have the right to do it whatsoever. I'm not talking about that. But I'm using it so you can see that this is what a segmental thing. Understand? This is a segmental thing. You work within a domain. You're not crossing your domains. You stay within your tribes. Are you clear with this? So same developmental source, same nerve, same mother for all of them. Now, let's put it again. We talk about it a little bit. So this is my first thoracic, second thoracic, and third thoracic. And what I'm trying to show you here you can see the sympathetic chain is being connected with these spinal nerves. Something is repetition. We talk about this, so I will not go in detail again because I have to cut short the time. We know about these motor and the sensory part. We know how they are connected. We know the spinal nerves. We are all set with this. We have the dorsal and the ventral rami. So far we know. Any doubt? Now I will be putting here. So this is the sympathetic trunk, and these are the sympathetic ganglion, sympathetic chain, any name you like to give it. Now I have these ganglions. Now there is my, from the lateral on I have the sympathetic neuron, preganglionic sympathetic neuron, T1 to L2. Now I have 3 from T1, T2, T3. You are looking at 3 levels. And then, can you see this green shaded area?
Yes.
That is a tract for sympathetic, which runs within the whole of the spinal cord, but you can access only at certain points. Like, you have an account in a bank, and this bank has its own card, but this bank is not universal. This bank is not globalized. So you can access only to those areas where there are branches or where there are ATM machine for that particular, So it's not like, like you have Visa card. Visa card you put in your pocket, go anywhere in the world and you can do your stuff. But there are certain banks and there are certain cards which are only applicable at specific area. So for the spinal cord, it has everything everywhere, but you are allowed an access only in a pertinent sub reference point That is only from first thoracic to the second lumbar vertebral level. You can take out the sympathetic. Other places you can never. So that's the, but it's there throughout. But you can withdraw it only from T1 to L2. We'll talk about it. You'll see it. So now here you can see there is the white rami committance and there is the grey rami committance. Now from this sympathetic preganglionic fibers have been traversing to this sympathetic chain, and now you can see that it passes through this white rami committance and it relays here to a ganglion, that is the post ganglionic sympathetic neuron. That was the pre, this is the post. So there you can see respectively, so all white rami committants are coming from, like all the sympathetic fibers are coming from the white rami committants only. Questions later, not now. So now, and it can leave only through grey rami committance. It's not happening, it enters through grey and leave through white. No. It's a rule. It has to come from white and it has to go through grey. And you can see that it is distributed to all the nerves. Is that clear? So, and this is how a typical spinal nerve should be. Why we call them typical spinal nerve? Because these are the only nerves who have this facility, having this white rami committance. Other nerves have this ganglion, but they don't have white rami committance. So you cannot take out sympathetic fibers. So if you have sympathetic fibers, then only you can receive a sympathetic input. If you don't have white rami committance, you will never get it. You have it with you, but you cannot take new one. Now, let's go further. Before going further, we know about segments and then we know about the dermatomes. In our body, there are certain levels. Again, this is applicable where you develop and what is the area of supply. So we have certain important landmarks. What are those? Dermatomes. So these landmarks, let's talk about. This is at your angle of Lewis level. So 2.
T2.
So T2 level, that's a fixed point. T4 is a fixed point. We know so much is happening at T4.
Yeah.
Then we have T10, T7, T10. So much important is happening at that level. And then we have L1. So these are references. Now, if you know this is T2, we can say this is T1. We know this is T2, we can put T3 here. T4 is shown, T5, T6, T7 is there, T8, T9, T10 is there. So these are, why? Because we know these references. If someone says, where is your T2? I don't know. But we all know where is our angle of Lewis. So angle of Lewis, if we draw it, if we go horizontally, we are in T2 dermatome. So any space below, we are in T3. T4, we know the male's nipple lies at T4. Trachea bifurcates at T4. So many events within our body are occurring, our obliques, they start at T4. So many events occurs at T4. So we know T4. We can easily pick up T4, even on a section. T5 we don't know. But once we know T4, yes, below to it. T6 we don't know. But T7 we all can feel RG5 process. T10 we know where is our umbilicus. So that is T10. And then 11, 12 we don't know, but if we know T10 we can figure out. L1 we have its area. So this is how we can calculate, we can look for, we can remember. This is the easiest way of remembering these dermatomes. Is that easy for you now? Before we were struggling and we were not getting it. We were only knowing about T10. Rest, we knew that. So now these are the spinal nerves. Now who are segmental and who are non-segmental? Who have a tribe and who don't have a tribe? This is exactly like this. So now, this is the vertebral column, it has spinal cord. We talk about that when we were born, all of us. Our vertebral column and spinal cord were of the same size. But our vertebral column grows faster than our spinal cord. And spinal cord stops at certain time, at certain level. So the first lumbar vertebral level, L1, spinal cord will never come below to the first lumbar vertebra. That's why in the clinics, in the hospital, when they give you spinal anesthesia, they access through your vertebral column into your spinal cord, and they know they can put the needle below the L1 vertebrae and they safely enter into the space. They can withdraw the cerebrospinal fluid without causing any damage to the spinal cord, because damage to the spinal cord, damage to the brain is lethal. But once we don't have spinal cord there, so you can put your needle there. You had spinal nerves, but you don't have spinal cord. Spinal nerves, when you put a needle, they can move little bit, but spinal cord will never move. So what happens? What about the lower spinal nerves? Those have been emerging out from this lower blinded end of the spinal cord as like a horse tail, called equine, like so many hairs coming from the horse tail. But the main stuff is not coming down. So that is happening here. So many lower spinal nerves have been given up at this terminal level. So these are the dorsal rami, we know they go to the back. Ventral rami will come forward. So here we can see that these are the dorsal rami. So from C1 to first coccygeal you are looking at. And now these are ventral rami. So only few are segmental, not all are segmental, and here you see everybody is segmental. See, dorsal rami, all are segmental. Ventral rami, very few are segmental. This is something to understood. Now, these guys in the thoracic compartment, they are segmental. That's why we never see any plexus in our thoracic region. Specific. This tribe, this stuff. These are the cultural values. But what is this? Asia, Europe. No culture. No such thing. Anybody whatsoever he does or she does, that is the culture. No values. You can do anything anywhere. Right and left. Free. Freedom. This is what we call freedom. So, you don't know. What are their root values? What are their origin? There is a blending. There is a blending. Make sense? A very nice example. US, UK, Europe, all Europe. EU, put EU here. Easy? There you are specific. You know what are your roots. Anybody can track back to you who you were, from where you guys came. Here nobody knows. Tell me who is Canadian. Everybody is Canadian. Because there is no native Canadian. In Canada, if someone asks you who are you, he can go in jail. Nobody has the right to ask you. Because everybody is Canadian. There is no native or non-native. Clear?
I am Syria.
So, I am leaving you here. Out of Syrian, you have some benchmarking. You are this type of Syrian.
Pure Syria.
My dear, I don't have time for this. We will do it later. Now, non-segmental. What? Who's talking? No, I know. Someone said something. So non-segmental. So those part of the body not supplied by segmentally arranged spinal nerves are supplied by the nerve plexuses. So in the non-segmental area, we had a sharing type of supply. We had a meshwork. We had a plexus. So that has been helpful. So that is they have different tradition, and segmentals have different traditions. I hope you understand segmental. Now let's put non-segmental. So by definition, where the ventral primary rami of the spinal nerves are non-segmental, they fuse to join to form a nerve plexus, and a nerve plexus is defined as a network of interjoining nerves. So many nerves join together, make one nerve, and this nerve is responsible to supply to a pertinent area. Now, let's talk of non-segmental spinal nerve. So there we have the example. We did this slide. I'll skip it over. This is all about phrenic nerve. We did it with the diaphragm yesterday. Right? Is a fast review. So there you are looking at the most simplest plexus in our body, and that is the phrenic nerve. Now coming back. We agree this is segmental area. And this one and this one we had a big question mark. Now, here we have cervical plexus. C1 to C4. C3 to C5 we have phrenic nerve. Brachial plexus. C5 to T1. L2, 3, 4. So we have lumbar plexus. And there we have the sacral plexus. So this one, red is segmental. This yellow, this brown, this green, all are non-segmental. Obviously, is it red? No, it's here. Non-segmental. This D1 is segmental, maybe.
But there is brachial plexus.
Huh?
Brachial.
Fadi has a big problem. Fadi, this is sharing here and here also. It is playing double.
Double agent.
So is it clear now? This lower segment, what it is the pudendal nerve. So these are different plexuses. They may be big plexuses, they may be small plexuses. Like I talk about phrenic nerve, it's a very small, simple plexus. And then lower down and above up, we have different arrangements. Are you clear with segmental and non-segmental?
Yes.
Let me finish it, then we will talk about Nasir. So now, that's the real thing. That's what I was building up. Now, yes, Mushkila starts now. If you don't focus for these 3 slides, you